Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. So we're nearing the end of our studies of unemployment, and this is the classic argument. What should the government do to help manage unemployment? Demand side or supply side policies? And this is what happens around the dinner table. This is the division in many ways between um, sort of fiscally conservative minded people and fiscally expansionary minded people. What is the role of government and how effective are each one of these policies? And it's a pretty short video. I'm just going to go through. There's a bunch of words on the next slide. They come from Jocelyn Blink. They're excellent. And this is a critical piece of our information for you to have for your evaluation portion of unemployment, because you can have all the answers, but you have to be able to, on the IB exam, take this information and create something new. And in order to create something new, you have to have this depth of knowledge, which I think of as like a circular depth of knowledge, in order to be able to explain, like, what could the government do? They could do this, they could do that. And on par, based on these two options, this one would be better, and here's why, because I'm an economist, right? That's what you're becoming as you go through the IB curriculum. You're becoming an economist, straight up. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. So there's a lot of words, yeah, but it's best to have them all there. It should be demand side or supply side policies. If you saw the video that's called Government Solutions to Unemployment, if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It talks about the supply side options more in depthly, the interventionist view versus the market based free market view. Take a look at that video either before or after this video, it doesn't really matter. But it should be clear, right, that the solution to unemployment depends on the type of unemployment. I mean, that's critical. If you're trying to, so in other words, if the economy is experiencing a downturn in economic activity, then it is likely that demand deficient unemployment will rise, making demand management policies suitable. So if it's demand deficient unemployment, then it would make sense that demand management, if demand is down, you're going to want to get it back up so that it's sufficient. And demand management policies would make sense. But if you're trying to solve something different like structural unemployment, right? Structural unemployment is not, that's part of the natural rate of unemployment. That's a natural deal what happens with a growing economy, just like structural changes happen within a human being as they go through adolescence, right? There's actually structural change. Is that bad? Well, no. Is it awkward at times? Is it hard? Is it uncomfortable? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. So structural unemployment can be short-term bad, but in the long run, much better. So the governments have to be really careful about what kind of unemployment they're dealing with before they decide what sorts of solutions they could come up with. Okay, so here are some problems with demand management policies. In order to use expansionary fiscal policies, the government may have to run a budget deficit and spend more money than it takes in revenues. Okay, and while not necessarily a problem in the short run, this may lead to fiscal problems in the longer run, which is what's happening in the United States. The United States spent an enormous amount of money to get itself out of the recession of 2008. And now they're running a massive deficit. And what are they going to do in the long run? Eventually, they have to pay that money back. So expansionary fiscal policy is okay in the short run, long run problematic. So, but if the government reduces taxes, another demand management deal, there is no guarantee that people will spend their extra disposable income. Remember, reducing taxes, the assumption is people will spend that money, thus stimulating demand, making it demand sufficient, aggregate demand, right? But if they do that, doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to do it. Because if consumer confidence is low, then people might prefer to save, and aggregate demand might remain depressed or down. And even if the government reduces interest rates to encourage spending, there's no guarantee that it will have the desired effect by increasing consumption or investment. You know, not everybody's always in the business to buy a car, and even if interest rates are down, but you don't feel confident about the economy in the long run or your own job situation, you're not going to go borrow money to buy a car, even if interest rates are down. So once again, if consumer business confidence is low, then there's unlikely to be an increase in borrowing to finance consumption and investment. So it's about confidence in the marketplace. But even when successful, there's likely to be a time lag before they come into effect, right? And it's possible that aggregate demand will increase, but by the time it does, the economy may have recovered. And the extra impetus can be inflationary only. And if there's a time lag, and maybe the aggregate demand will increase, but it does so after time, then didn't really solve the problem. Something else did. Now you're just adding to the inflationary pressure. Another problem with demand management policies could be that it occurs when, due to the fact that when the economy is at full employment, there will be some unemployment. And this is what I was talking about before. In that, if there's full employment, and in other words, natural rate of unemployment, and you do demand management stuff, you might actually just be increasing um, inflationary pressure. Okay, because we now know that this type of unemployment is natural unemployment, meaning that structural unemployment, and solutions to these are best found in supply side policies. So I kind of botched my transition there, but listen, when you go from when you are, it depends on the type of unemployment you're trying to manage. If you're managing the um, sub, uh, uh, structural unemployment, supply side would be better because there isn't really an unemployment quote problem because you're experiencing a natural rate of unemployment, but or full employment. But if it's demand deficient, then you might want to use demand side policies. Okay, using demand management policies to cure this type of unemployment will be unsuccessful. In other words, structural unemployment. So at full employment, the economy is producing near capacity. Increases in aggregate demand at this point will result in inflationary pressure. And the problem facing policymakers is that in practice it might be very difficult to distinguish between the different types of unemployment. Moreover, an economy may be suffering from several types of unemployment at the same time. Right? So there might be a lot going on. There might be, cyclical unemployment. There might be some demand deficient unemployment, but there's also structural unemployment going on. So if you're trying to fix one and it affects the other, it's a difficult thing to manage, right? Because you can't figure out what to do because you don't know totally the scope of the problem that you have. So, in summary, demand side policies, particularly the manipulation of interest rates, are commonly used to narrow possible business cycle fluctuations and reduce output gaps. Whereas supply side policies are vital to ensure that the labor is suitably skilled and flexible to adapt to a changing economic conditions so that the long run aggregate supply curve is always shifting to the right and you have an expansion of the capacity, the quantity, and the capacity in your economy. Okay, so you got to be able to dance around this thing. You need to know all of the angles on demand side and supply side policies. If the supply side policies gets divided out even more so, take a look at the other video on government solutions to unemployment to help you further your knowledge of this. These are critical. This is critical information to know for the evaluation portion of any answer that you might get on the IB exam. All right, my friends, I hope you found this video to be helpful, and we'll talk to you in a bit.